and a resident and born and raised of the town. Last year, Miss Nancy Monroe put this on last year for the selectmen and all the candidates that were running for the ballot for the town. And I was asked this year, since she is running for the candidate for Trust of Trustees this year, that I help facilitate and be the moderator for this open forum. So before we get started, I'd like everybody to stand with the pledge of allegiance, and I'll get into the I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So before we get into it, we're just going to lay in and talk about some of the ground rules for the meeting today, and then on what I'm going to be doing with each of the candidates. So I just ask that everyone in here be respectful at all times to the participants and for whoever is talking. No offensive language, and no interruptions when other people are talking, that to include candidates that are speaking and other people that are speaking to the candidates. I'm not going to give any warnings, so this is your forewarning now. If you become rude or disrespectful, I'm just going to ask you to leave. So starting with the terms of the candidates, so to my left, everyone's front and center, is the candidates for selectmen. And to my right, your left, we have Dean Wiles, who is the candidate for trust, or candidate for cemetery trust. We have Deb Montgomery, who is the candidate for the library trust. And then Nancy, as I said, she is the candidate for Trust of Trustees.
And so is Bill.
And Bill, sorry.
So am I.
All right, and Bill as well.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the candidates of the selectmen one by one, and I'm going to give them an opportunity to speak on their behalf for roughly 5 minutes. If you don't need that much time, you don't need to take all the time. And basically just explaining themselves of why they want to run for their position. And then after that, if anybody else wants to speak on behalf of their position of running, then I'm going to open it up to an open forum. Once I start that, one person will speak at a time. When you're called on, ask your question. Please stand, state your name, and that you're a resident of the town, and ask of who selectman or one of the trustees that you are directing your question to, so they know that you're speaking to them. Ask your question, you may have a seat, and then let them answer your question. And then we're going to do this for whoever you have questions for. I'd like for at least a good portion of everybody in the room, if they have a question, to ask a question. And then after that, it's basically open forum from there. Just please raise your name, raise your hand, and I will call on you, and then we'll go from there. Anybody have any questions before we get started? All right. So for the candidates to my left, for the candidates to selectmen, Mr. Jim Tierney in the back, his term is coming up this year, so he is not rerunning. So his position will become open of one of these 3 candidates here. There were 4. Mr. Christopher Roberge is not here. I'm not sure if he's still going to be on the ballot for the candidate. Just because he's not here doesn't mean he can't be on the ballot. So,
He's on the ballot.
all right. So Chris is on the ballot.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with the first one right here. This is Mr. Clint Bramlett, and I'm going to open the floor to him. Go ahead, Alan. Frank, sorry.
Very good. Good evening, everybody. My name, as I said, is Clint Bramlett, and I'm a 3-year resident of Groveton, Northumberland now. Moved up here from Connecticut. When I retired from the banking business, had to get out of Connecticut. It was, your money is their money, and taxes, and that kind of irritated me. So anyway, I wanted to move somewhere beautiful that had good tax laws, that recognized personal freedoms as being important, and New Hampshire just was perfect. I'm not sure how I ended up here. When I was looking, I drove back and forth looking for a place, but I ended up here, and I'm just delighted to be here. Met so many people. It's a small town, obviously, and it's easy to kind of get around. You probably would recognize me better with my dog, because that is how I'm usually out and about on the streets, giving him a walk, or he's giving me a drag. And so anyway, now that I've been here and have fallen in love with this area and the folks, I I think that it's a great idea for us to move forward. I find, I always compare our situation kind of to a Hallmark movie. And if y'all ever watch those Hallmark movies, it's always like, you know, the beautiful girl moves off to New York City to go to work, and the handsome dude stays back and works at his, you know, his folks' Christmas tree farm. And then everything starts going south, so the beautiful girl comes back to help, you know, her parents do something, and they fall in love, and they save the Christmas tree farm, you know. So in this case, you know, the mill shut down, and we don't have anybody coming in, you know, to save the day. We've got to kind of get going again. And so I think that what our town really needs is for us to move forward. I kind of feel like the city collectively, you know, the mill shut down in '07. So I still feel like we're kind of like this. Instead of getting the chest out and saying this is a great place to live, we have all kinds of great opportunity, and we need to, you know, we need to figure out ways to leverage that. So I've been working. By the way, beat me if I go too long.
I'll give you a minute warning.
Like boxing matches. So I've been working with the Granite Guild. Some of y'all may have heard of our little charity. And you know what we're doing is trying to, we bought the restaurant down by Paris. Still haven't gotten it all down as far as how to pronounce. So, you know, we bought the restaurant there, and we're going to turn that into basically a community center. And we're gonna have a food bank there. We're gonna open up a couple of hydroponic greenhouses. We're gonna have conference rooms, and there's all kinds of things that we've got in the hopper. And the president of the board there is Rick Archer, and he's done this before in California, and he's doing a great job of getting us set up here. So we've got all kinds of things in the fire. We are working with different entities to get grants, so that, you know, obviously you need money if you're a charity, you know, just to get started and get set up. So we're working on that, and we're making some good progress. So I'm really proud to be part of that. And part of the thing that we want, and Rick and I have talked about this many times, is that, you know, we would like for our little charity to be something that feeds lifeblood into the community again. So, you know, we're gonna help seniors, we're gonna be pointed to veterans also, students, high school students. We've got all kinds of things that we would like to do. But that's the sort of thing that I think we need to build upon. You know, no one wants their taxes to go up. I hate taxes. I moved out of Connecticut, or as I call it, communetta tax, so that I could escape the.
One minute.
Oh, thanks. So anyway, what I want to do is see us develop our town and start to, you know, build on what we've got going already. You know, we have our terrific market over there. We've got, you know, our little restaurant. We've got a new tattoo parlor, and you know, there's some bases there that we can build on. And I really think that we want to be more than just a place that you drive through on your way to Stark or on your way to Stratford. So I think we can do that if we, you know, support local businesses. We open some more, we grow some more. We have the ability to increase the tax base without technically having to raise taxes on anybody. There's just more people and a better basis to collectively collect more taxes, you know, for us, so that helps the residents. You know, my history has been in executive banking for about the last 35 years. Is that me, Deegan?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. Former banker, retired, and I think a lot of my expertise will help us grow.
Awesome. Thank you, Glenn. Next will be Ryan Perkins. Go ahead, Ryan.
Ryan Perkins. I've lived here for about 4 years now. Let's see. I moved here for family 4 years ago, and my family's obviously grown. 6 children. Yeah, it's fun. Let's see. The past couple of years, I've been more involved in our community here. Before I moved here, I was involved in my community. I volunteered to my schools out there from Maine. But since I've been here, let's see, I coach t-ball. year I coached T-ball, this year I'm coaching T-ball. I helped organize and host our Halloween trunk or treat this past year, including the delivery of 100 pumpkins. Fire department, I volunteered time and resources to our fire department for their events, such as the breakfast that they've done, and as well as the Christmas sleigh ride evening. Let's see. I wrote all this down to answer just questions, so I like to be a part of my community, and being a selectman is more than just meetings. It's about involvement in your community and helping residents feel heard. As to what he was talking about businesses, we did just lose moms, which is unfortunate. So I agree with trying to draw in more businesses, looking more appealing to have more people coming through town. Yeah, I guess I'll just save the rest for questions.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. And Alan.
Good evening, my name's Al Rossetto. I bought property in town in 2004. I built the house in 2005, and because of some health issues, I didn't finish it till 2007, so I've been a resident since 2007. I'm retired, 76. I did remodeling, general construction, and the last 6 or 7 years of my career, I built Energy Star houses throughout New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and I also built them as far away as Wyoming. I've been self-employed my whole life. I've run a series of small mom and pop businesses with my wife, whom I married in '73. And no, we got married. It was her idea. It was the best thing I ever did. But, you know, I'm kind of involved in the town. I'm the chair of the planning board. I'm the town representative to Androscoggin Valley Regional Refuge Disposal District, where all our trash goes. And I'm also the building inspector. Why am I doing this? Because I firmly feel that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, has to be by the people. We all have to help out in the government if we want democracy to work. We can't just rely on a handful of people that are elected and we send off and that's it. We need to be involved in our government. So my vision for Northumberland is, one, we have a very, very unique situation. We have rail, we have gas, and we have a industrial site that the town put $400,000 to supply water and sewer to the all the sites for possible building. We're still waiting to see some development over there, and we now have NSA and Q Hydrogen there. Q Hydrogen, I'm curious and really hopeful to see it work, because if it does work, this will be a proof of concept for producing electricity at a lower rate. One of the devils of making anything happen in the North Country is the price of power. We are paying some of the highest electricity rates in the nation, and we need a way to resolve that. Individually, we can't do anything about it, but hopefully the technology that Q Hydrogen is, I believe it's patented, is bringing to the area will allow the price of electricity for the mill site, let's call it that, to be roughly half of what we're paying right now. And if that occurs, then the mill site will be developed and we will get the additional industrial tax base that we need, and we'll also get an influx of people. The other thing that we need is we need more affordable housing, workforce housing, I believe is the term it's used. And recently, the legislature has passed legislation allowing auxiliary dwelling units, which is let's call it a mother-in-law apartment on the side of your house, or it can now even be freestanding.
One minute, Alan.
Okay, basically, everybody that's serviced by town water and sewer now has the ability to put a second dwelling on their property and increase it. I think that's something that the planning board has been pursuing, and we need to grow the town. We have resources, and I think if we work together, and hopefully with the government, we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Bill, would you like to say anything?
Yes.
All right.
My name's Bill Baxley. I moved up here in 2021, bought property in Groveton, moved up here from Florida, started trying to get noticed with people around, meet people in town, started coming to meetings here. Then I met Nancy and we kind of became a couple, in more ways than one. But anyway, didn't mean to embarrass you. My background, I was in Florida as a commissioner for 9 years, and I retired from being a commissioner in 2021 when I came up here when my wife passed away in Florida. I moved up here to be with my family. My daughter, her son, and my other daughter, granddaughter, and grandsons are all here in Groveton. I volunteered last year. I'm a trustee on the trust committee. I've been on it for a year, and my term is up because I only had 1 year when I got on it. So there was nobody else volunteered, so I volunteered again. As some of these gentlemen mentioned here, I'm a full believer that you've got to get involved in your community and volunteer your time with your community and for your people around you to be able to make it successful and to have a good community to live in, safe community. What time I've been here, since we've got an excellent police department doing a good job. I have to recommend the Public Works Department. All these are working on with different people. I mean, the city of Bunnell was just a little bit bigger where I came from, city commissioner, was just a little bit larger in population than this town is. And the jobs that they're doing, we had about 14 people on the road. The job that Nikki is doing as assistant, she's doing 4 jobs that we had people on. 4 different people doing the jobs that she's doing. The job that Tammy's doing is just, I just can't believe that these people are doing this job with so little help. The town needs good, qualified people. So if anybody, and I plead with anybody out there, if you have any expertise or anything like this, the town needs you. To volunteer your time and be a part of the town and just make the town grow and make it something we're all proud of.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Nancy?
Most of you know me. Lived here all my life. I've been involved with the community for a long time. I was with the original group for checking out the town, looking at the cost. A little group did a lot of work. Also have been a part of the original budget committee when it was started. I've been on the school board. I've been trustee of the trust homes of the library and its treasurer. This town, we all grew up here. Most of us have grown up here. It's not the same town as when the mill was going. and it never will be again at that point. We will never have that manufacturing type that we've had. I blame the state of New Hampshire for allowing that sale to happen and just take everything out of it. So we could never use the building, the property. I would love to see it back again to where volunteerism is important to people. Now it's okay, well, how much are you gonna pay me to do the job? Growing up, everything we did in town was volunteers. And I think we need to bring that back. I've heard Ryan saying that he's been volunteering, doing things, but it goes deeper than that. It means involvement. Like Bill said, we come to these meetings, special hearing meetings, the Board of Selectmen meetings, and sometimes it's not very many people here. But I look out now and what I'm seeing is awesome. It's really awesome. We need to hear, not secondhand, not lies, but we need to hear the truth. And we need to hear it from the people that are gonna represent us, what's going on, but we also need to be a part of it. And that's what I'd like to see again.
Hi, I'm Debbie Montgomery. I didn't expect to speak tonight, so I didn't come prepared at all. But I grew up in Groveton also and had a wonderful upbringing with church and school and community. And it was a wonderful community to grow up in. And I walk a lot in town, and I often find myself looking at the buildings in town and the lack of people on the streets. And when I grew up, it was just, when the whistle blew in the mill, change shifts, everyone was on the street walking. You couldn't find a parking space on the street. And I often think of those days and miss those days. And I know a lot of our parents and grandparents would find it hard to believe that Groveton lost their mill. I'm sure never would they have thought that would have happened. But back to why I'm here tonight. I have always used the library and got to know our wonderful librarians as a result of that. And one day, Gail, about a year ago, asked me if I would fill in for the trustee until this year. And I said, oh, of course. I said, I have no reason to say no. I'm always in the library. So I said, yes, I'd love to. And so I've been doing this for a year. I've enjoyed it. And here I am again. And I would certainly appreciate your vote. And thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Dean?
My name is Dean Wiles. I got nothing. Now, born and raised here in town, got a great education up here in this high school. Went to Berlin Tech for 2 years, spent a year at the Concord Tech Electrical. I've been 40 years in the union, the electrical union. Came back here to Groveton, started my own business for 8 years. Served a lot of good people here in town. The reason I'm running for the cemetery trustee is because nobody else wanted it. I went to the town hall expecting to run for the selectmen, which I intended to do, but then I found out there was 4 good candidates running, so I thought maybe it was another spot in town that I could help on. So that's the reason I put my name in for the trustee for the cemetery. Hopefully I'll be an asset to the town. Again, I got a great education in this town, that's why I've lived a good life, and that's about it.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm gonna try my best.
All right, so that concludes the introduction of all the candidates. Now I'm gonna open the floor up to the public here, and I'll start with anybody that has any questions for any of the candidates, and we'll go from there. Brian, you wanna be the first one?
I guess so.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Let me form some. So I take it you guys are both running for the trustees, the trust fund on both?
Correct. They're trustee of the trust funds.
Isn't the, what are your guys, I'm not too familiar with the trust funds or anything like that, or trustees, whatever you call it, but, isn't the, your daughter works for the town, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just wondering, is that a conflict of interest?
Absolutely not.
It's not a conflict of interest at all? Not nepotism?
No.
Okay. Alright, I just wanted to make sure that was,
Can we just make sure that only the candidates are answering, because this isn't really like an open forum for, no, not you.
Sorry,
When people are asking questions, can we just make sure that only the candidates are answering?
who answered during what?
2 people.
Okay.
So just,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's not really a back and forth.
Yeah, no,
between
thank
teams.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Uh,
What would it take?
Hold on, sir, can you?
Well, you
Yeah.
asked them to have a question, I have a question.
Well, hold on, you were here.
No, you didn't say that, hold on. You have to be specific when you talk in public.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so,
We'd like to know your
so you
name.
were late.
No, you said if you have a question, I have a question.
Right, sir, but what I'm saying is that, at the
That's
beginning.
after you stated the facts. You have to be precise in public.
Sir, can you just listen to what I have to say, or I'm gonna ask you to leave?
Oh, you don't like the question, so you get rid of the opposition.
No,
That's your philosophy?
what I'm asking, sir, if you just listen to what
Well,
I
if
have
you
to
could be
say.
precise.
The meeting started at 7, and I put out some ground rules. Those ground rules were, if you had a question, I would call upon you, you would stand, state your name, and that you are a resident of the town, and then you will ask whoever you're directing your question to for any of the candidates, and then you ask your question, sir. That's all I'm asking. So do you have a question?
Yes, what would it take to go back to 5 selectmen instead of 3? Because I
Hold on,
found
sir. Is a question to me?
whoever wishes to answer,
So who do you wish to ask to direct the question?
whoever can answer, because what has happened in town? We have 3 selectmen and a town manager. It takes 2 selectmen, a town manager, are running the town. We've basically lost our democracy.
All right,
We
so
have
we're
to go, no, wait a minute, let me finish, please.
I'm gonna ask
We
you to
have to go
stop
back to
because
5.
you're not directing your question to any of the candidates. So, if you have a direct question to one of the candidates,
Yes,
then
would
that's what
one
I
of the
said.
selectmen like to answer that question? Or would you like to ask?
I
What
would
does it
not,
take
because I'm not running for anything, but would any of the candidates would like to address this gentleman's question in regards to having a town manager and having 5 selectmen compared to 2?
Go back to what we used to have.
Sure, go back to what we used to have. Would any of you gentlemen like to answer on behalf of that gentleman's question?
Clint Bramlett here.
All
And
right, perfect.
my thoughts on that are that when you had 5, you probably had the mill going. It was a much more vibrant place. There was perhaps a need for more selectmen. I think with the current setup that we have right now, we need 3. I'm not opposed to 5, but I think 3 would do it very well. And I think that the 3 selectmen that are currently working have been doing a very good job, and Tammy has been knocking it out of the park. You know, I don't think we have any problems with the number that we have. I think we have other issues to look at beyond, you know, fixing the number or changing the number of selectmen that we have.
How do the other selectmen feel?
You can get 25 signatures from residents who feel the same way, write up like a warrant, and then submit it to the selectmen. And then that would be at the town meeting as a vote for the public.
Jim?
For next year.
Yes, for
The
next year.
period has closed for this town
Yeah.
meeting. And all it takes is you could either do it by petition or simply ask whoever the 3 selectmen are up there, would they put it in? And if they say yes, town votes, do you wanna go up to 5? That's all.
Thank you for the clarification.
I would like to make a statement, and I think the more people involved, the better the democracy. If you end up with a town manager, 2 selectmen, they do what the hell they want. There's no opposition. They can pass anything, pay whatever salary they want. We need opposition and we need a democracy. And the only way to get it is more input. What's happening? We're ending up with a gang running the town. I'm sorry.
Does anybody have any questions for any of the candidates? Yes, Ryan.
Al, what's your opinion on what Mr. Montgomery was stating? I didn't hear you, that's all.
Well, I've attended the Board of Selectmen meetings for a number of years, and I've watched the selectmen come and go, and what I see, and I think it's true, that the Board of Selectmen is diligently trying to manage the town based on the needs of the departments, not necessarily wants. At budget workshops, the department heads come forward with their proposed budget, and line by line it's gone through, and there's been a few times where the items seem to be more of a want than a real need, but they've hewed pretty close to providing the departments in the town with the resources to fill their needs to keep this old town running. There are, ask Reggie, there's pipes in the ground that are 100 years old. We're working, the Hill project is coming, supposedly, hopefully start in the spring. That will be replacing the pipes on the hill, or at least most of it, because of some issues. But, you know, we have an old town, and we have a town that, looking at it, this is the most common hair color. So, you know, we need to keep the town within a financial area that we can afford. We just went through a revaluation, and I think I could probably get unanimous that everybody's taxes went up. I know mine did. So, you know, and the other thing is that we have a beautiful place. We have a place that people want to come to. We need to make this as welcoming as possible, and everybody sitting up here is here for a reason, because we want to make this place as good as we can for everybody. So my thing is, we don't need to expand the Board of Selectmen. What we really truly need is when the Board of Selectmen is having a meeting, to see the chairs filled. I sit over there on the side, I call it the Group W bench, and a lot of times there's 5, 6, maybe 10 people, okay? What we need is more citizen participation. And that, can I go on?
Absolutely.
That leads me into one of the things that I want to see the Board of Selectmen do. I want to see the board meetings videotaped and posted on, and this is great, I'm gray here, I don't know, YouTube, Facebook, I don't know what it is, live. So that when the Board of Selectmen is meeting, the people are watching what's going on here, and when the public comment section is open, every meeting they public comment, I want to have a phone number where somebody who can't make it to that meeting can call and ask the board a question. Because democracy only works if the people are involved. And you, case in point, nobody wanted the job. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Dean Wise.
Dean.
Don't forget.
Alan, I think we're
Anyway, so what I'm saying is he put his name in because there was nobody else stepping up for it. So that's what we need. Sorry. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Montgomery.
How come, was this meeting put on Facebook? Was it publicized?
It was
Yes.
publicized by the town office on their website, is
When?
what I was told. You can, if you want to
Who
direct
can
that
tell me
question.
when, is the town manager here? Can she tell me?
If anybody from the town office would like to
Can you
represent.
tell me when it was put on Facebook?
Jim,
I,
Leanne is just,
so minor correction on the town administrator, not the town manager.
Okay, town administrator.
Yeah, I cannot make decisions, the board has to be the ones to make the final
Oh, so the
calls.
board had to put it on Facebook, not you?
No, I don't Facebook, so I couldn't put it on Facebook.
So it wasn't on Facebook then?
But I believe Mr. Weigel is looking up for you as to when it was on there.
All right, so while, Ms.
One other question I'd like to bring up. The speech we got with the gentleman was fine, it was excellent. But what's it got to do with 5 selectmen? It's not going to cost you any more. You're talking about budget restraints and this and it has to be put to town, and the more democracy, the more participation. Well, let's have 5 selectmen, we've got more participation.
No.
Yes, we do. 5 is more than 3.
Well, that's a true statement.
Yes.
I agree with you, 100%.
But the thing is, the more input you have, the greater, the more ideas you get, and the better your democratic town works. Instead of what it's basically coming down to is the town manager, 2 selectmen decide everything.
Sir, do you have a question?
That's a statement.
Okay, so this public forum is for questions for the candidates. So does anybody have any other questions for any specific candidates? Hold on, sir. I have someone raising their hand and I'm going to call upon them. Courtney?
Courtney Perkins, and I've been a resident of the town for my entire life. Al, I just wanted to ask, you were the only candidate that didn't mention anything specific about small businesses moving into town. You stated that you and your wife ran small mom and pop businesses.
That's true.
But I didn't hear anything about the small businesses moving into town. I heard about NSA, and then Q Hydrogen, which are large businesses, but how do you feel about bringing families in that can support, you know, their families with the restaurant, for instance, things up on Main Street, because that was something that was booming when I was a child. Deb touched on that. We always had people walking up and down the streets. You couldn't go anywhere without everything being bustling. So what do you feel about small businesses?
Well, having been mom and pop business my whole life, I totally agree with you. Ryan has or used to have, the old pizza place here in town. And it's still vacant. So I think the best way to have small business to come to town is to grow the economic diversity of the town. Small businesses need a larger employer to provide the income for the people working with that employer to spend at the small businesses. My personal small businesses were small auto parts stores and remodeling, but having been a merchant for 15 years, I understand that the people that came into my auto parts store looking for a set of points for their Volkswagen, which happened to be BO105 as the part number, by the way, they got the money to give me for the points and condenser from the job they worked at. And in the central Connecticut area, it was Pratt & Whitney Aircraft, which was very similar to the mill. It employed a zillion people, and it provided the economic engine to support the myriad of small businesses that were scattered throughout the region. So yes, we need small businesses, but we need a full court press for everything we can get to move this town forward. But the mill site has gas, rail, access to the Canadian border, and a wonderful place to build. We need cheap power. Hopefully Q Hydrogen can provide that. So we need to expand the large businesses, and that in turn will have the spin-off of the small businesses improving, because we have to grow. It's going to be challenging in the coming years, but the 3 selectmen, and I have respect for every single one of them that sat up here. And I'm hoping that I can also do that and earn your respect.
Yes, Bill.
Bill Baxley, I've heard you saying about what we need, but I'd like to hear from each one of the candidates. What will you do? This is your question from me to each one of you. You can start on the left and work your way right, or right to left.
I'll start with Clint.
Okay. What will you do, or what do you think we need to do to make it more businesses come to this town? And what will you do as a selectman in the next year? What are your goals that you set for yourself to accomplish this coming year?
All right, so goals to set for yourself for the town, and then potential plans for small businesses coming to the town. So
One of the things,
Yeah, go ahead.
one of the things that, again, my career has been in executive banking, working, from president to, senior executives and doing all that. And I've seen so much going on as far as lending, billing and providing, services for people who need small business services and also larger business. And so I think it's, I've kind of got that background, but I kind of forgot where I was going. Oh, one of the things that I always did, regardless of the position, we would develop at our financial institution a business plan. And it was typically a 5-year business plan. And any of you who have ever put one together know that like the first 12 to 18 months, that's your business plan. And then the remainder out to the 5th year, that's sort of your goals, your long-term goals. So you set the short-term things to do what you can do, and then you set the long-term things to do what you want to do. And I think that that's what we're missing, is putting together a business plan, and it would address all of those things that you were talking about there, Bill. So I think that Al made a good point about larger businesses. When we would finance a shopping center, you would always look to see that you had what they call an anchor store. So you've got a TJ Maxx or a Lowe's or something in that shopping center, because that's your anchor. That's what brings people in there. So we would need to have somewhat the same things here. If we could lure, and it does hurt very much, I think, that Mom's is leaving, because that's almost like an anchor type of location in business. So we need to see if we can't lure a business or two in town. I know with the Granite Guild, we were talking to a guy who builds like the mini houses, and he was wanting to work with us, and we're still working on that agreement. But that would be something to sell or manufacture small homes for people, affordable housing, for people to be able to buy a place and to be able to afford it. So, you just, again, as opposed to saying, we gotta do this and this, I think it's important to sit down and say, as a town, what do we want? We talked about how important it is to get volunteers and have people in the seats here when we're talking and planning, but we have to have a business plan. We have to know where we're going. We can't just, right now we're kind of just, as opposed to planning, long-term planning, these are our goals. This is where we're gonna be in 3 years. This is where we wanna be in 5 years. We're kind of just treading water, and we really need to move forward, I think, so that we've got it down in a concrete plan. Everybody in the town sees that concrete plan. Everybody knows. They can all have buy-in. And so we do, like last Friday, we had the meeting on the budget. We were looking at warrant articles and all of that. Well, that's great, but when you're looking at warrant articles, if you have a town plan, you can refer back to that and say, okay, well, this warrant article doesn't support that. Or, you know what, that's a great idea, that does support it, or hey, we hadn't thought of where we need to be on the business plan in 5 years, this is a good idea. So there's all kinds of movement, but I think the most important thing, the first thing that I would push very hard is to get a business plan, so we know what we need to do, what everybody wants to do, and what we can do.
Ryan, same question.
So you have to build the community to build businesses. The people you attract into our community are going to be the ones that are businesses. So like both people have said, the larger businesses attract people, fill the empty houses. So you have to start there. So
Which we have no empty houses
Sir,
right now.
hold on, just let him finish this.
No, I just said we don't have any empty houses.
I got you, thank you. Continue, Ryan, yeah, you're good.
well, the people that live here need to be more involved. So if there's no open houses, then people from other towns will move into the vacant commercial buildings. Either way, I'm sure people will still move into town. There's going to be vacancies. So in order to build our community, we need to, this goes into my plan. So managing human resources such as hiring, as one of the options. So for example, this past year we got Officer Kennison, who has been a huge positive officer for our town. He's been in the schools, he goes into local businesses, very involved. He's commenting on our Facebook stuff in the Groveton page, offering help. He plows the Granite Hill parking lot. He goes above and beyond his normal duty of being a police officer. So he's actually becoming a training officer now for the 2 new hires that are hired. So him training them, he's going to direct them the same way that he is as an officer. So that is going to shed positive light into the PD. So that's just an example. So with a positive PD helps bring people through, right? Everybody feels safer because the PD is obviously important. They're the ones who take care of us even when we don't see them. So people like Tyler is what we need in town, and that will attract more people to want to be a part of the town and to start businesses, in my opinion.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Alan, I think you kind of alluded to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I've already said,
Yeah.
where I'm coming from on that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for your comments as well. Yes, sir, Mr. Montgomery.
I'd like the answer to my question. Was it publicized on Facebook or the Democrat this meeting? Nobody's answered.
It was put on the website on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Can I answer?
That was a rather short notice, wasn't it?
Go ahead. Yeah, shoot.
So,
Were you in the Democrat last week?
Mr. Montgomery, I'm actually the person that sends out the information. We have an email tree it was sent to. It was posted on the front door and the back door of the office. It was put on our website. We sent out and asked, it was, the library too, I believe it was posted on. We sent out to our email tree and asked everybody to publicize on Facebook, because I don't have Facebook, I don't do social media, and I don't think anyone, maybe Rami has it, but that's her personal Facebook. So we don't have a personal business Facebook page to put it out on. So we put it out what we were supposed to. We were not obligated to put it in the newspaper.
Well, this is right. You're not obligated to.
We were not obligated legally to put it in the newspaper. This is not.
You're not obligated to inform the public.
All right, so
We did.
I'm just gonna stop
We
with
did
whatever's
inform.
going on. So the question's been asked and answered, so we're just.
No, it's not
we're-
an answer.
We're gonna move on, sir. So do we have any other questions from the public for any of the candidates? Yes, Courtney.
Courtney Perkins. Sorry, Al, this is just gonna go to you again, because it kind of got
Okay,
deterred a
I'm
little
an
bit.
easy target.
So I had asked the question about small businesses, but I feel like you kind of focused more on bringing the big businesses in. Have you ever personally deterred a small business from running in the town?
Have I heard?
Deterred.
Deterred. Well, let's see. I've been sitting on the planning board, and Brian and the others we've had brainstorming sessions on how to improve it. I don't believe the planning board has ever turned down any change of use.
Not necessarily the planning board, more so you.
Me. I don't ever recall saying anything about bringing in small business because that's my heritage. Small businesses are the backbone. Small, under 5 million, let's call it small, which when I was doing a lot, I never quite made that back in the 70s, but I tried hard, are the backbone of the American economy. As Clint said, the anchor businesses in malls and things like that are important because they need the traffic to go to visit the other boutiques and shoe stores and whatever else is in the mall. Yes, we need small businesses, but we also have to be able to have a ecosystem and an economic system that will allow them to have enough customers with money in their pocket to support them. So,
Alan, I don't know if you've answered her question.
okay, help me with this, because I may be getting confused.
She's just asking if you personally.
No, to my knowledge, I have never, ever deferred anybody from coming in. As building inspector, I work pretty hard to be helpful for construction on projects. I was at your place.
Granny Gill.
Right, I came down there, not as an official inspection, but as a guy that's got 40 years of construction. And I went through the building and I gave them my best advice on, you know, what was wrong with it and what they should do with it. You know, what they should do.
We'll pay that bill we got, by the way.
Yeah, there was no charge, you know, when I give advice, it's free. I don't believe I've ever dissuaded anybody from coming into town in the 20-odd years I've been here.
All right, thank you, Alan. Does that answer your question, Courtney?
Can I just go off of that, or does
Yeah,
someone
you
else
can,
want to ask first?
hold on just a quick second. Does anybody else have a question before I call on Courtney again?
Yes, I have a question.
Hold on, Mr. Montgomery, Mr. Montgomery.
Nancy Moreau, I have a question for you, Ryan. I've listened to both Clinton, all of you, and I know you've been doing a lot of community service work and involved. Do you have other background? Do you have financial background, construction background? I guess it's nice to have what you do, and I appreciate that. But what other things can you offer as a background?
So being 25, there's not a whole lot that I've had for experience in that line. I will say I do show a lot of commitment. I've moved up significantly in my career in 3 years with Spectrum. So just because I don't have the technical experience that you're talking about, I'm open. So the two members on the board, being Jim and Keith, have both been selectmen for a good amount of time, would be great teachers. So they are the ones that I will lean on to guide me through that.
May I ask another?
I asked Courtney to hold on, so.
No, it's okay.
Are you sure? Okay, yeah, you may be right.
I think that's good that you're utilizing that information, but sitting here and being here for a while with other select boards, it's very, very time consuming. They dig for RSAs, they dig for grants, there is so much of that part of that job. Are you gonna be able to give that amount of time? I mean, you have a family, and I understand that, and you work, but this job requires a lot of extra time that no one realizes.
So yes, I would make sure I have time for that, because I don't plan on leaving Groveton, plan on staying here. So I want the best for not only myself, but for the future, so my children. So it is important for me to stay involved and invest more time and be there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Courtney, oh, sorry, Mr. Montgomery, yes.
Regarding getting industry into Groveton, does the state of New Hampshire have any department?
So I just asked, just like everybody else has it in the public forum so far. I just need you to direct your question to somebody.
Okay, whoever wishes to answer. Is that good enough? Okay, then I'll direct it to you.
Sure, you can direct it to me, but I'm not gonna answer it. But go ahead.
Okay, I'm not going to answer it. Let's pick somebody who might be capable of answering it.
Okay, go ahead.
Does the state have a department, the state of New Hampshire, have a department that specializes in attracting businesses into New Hampshire, whether foreign or domestic businesses? As you say, we have a railroad, we have natural gas coming in, we have everything for a business. But does the state actively participate and work with the towns to attract a business? Is it a department of state that does that? I was wondering if you can tell me that can work with the towns, like if there's a business in Canada wishing to come to America, the state of New Hampshire, if they can get their cost and entice them to come here, then I guess the towns have to fight as to who gets it. Is there such a department?
I was just going to briefly address that. Typically, I worked in Texas and Connecticut, and New York City, and they're universally are community development sections of the government, and their job is to do exactly what you're talking about in this government. So I would be shocked if there are not resources that we can take advantage of through the state, and also even federally. You know, there's tons of grants out there and tons of programs that you can avail yourselves of, but you just have to go after them.
Ryan, did you want to answer, or?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay, Alan? do you have
I
something?
believe the person you would be wanting to talk to is Bino Montagne. Jim, what is the department he's with?
BEA.
BEA. Can you tell us what the letters mean?
Who would ask that question? It has to do with
Business,
that.
economic, something?
It has to do with economic development.
Right.
I can't remember what the A stands for. It might
Right,
just
we
be
do have an
agency.
economic development,
Agency, Jim.
department from the state. Bino, I've met several times. He's actively working to bring businesses down from Canada because we have that proximity. He's also been involved in trying to bring more businesses into the mill site. So yes, there is a department program and a very active person working to bring development here. But as of right now, all of the development that I've heard of at the mill site has not come to pass because the electricity costs are so high.
Thank you, Alan. Courtney, did you want to redirect?
Al, I'm so sorry.
No.
Again, I have a question after for everybody, if that helps. I do remember a specific situation where there was an issue with a small business owner in town and you. And he was particularly targeted by you to not expand his small business.
Can I answer that?
I don't
I'm
want
not
to
gonna put any names on it.
Well, hold on.
I don't want to go around in circles over it. It can be just a fast thing. I asked you earlier if you had any issues with small business and you replied no. Is that in fact not correct?
No. The issue I had with said individual was that the area that the business was coming in was not zoned for the business that was coming in there and the business that was run there. And it was a residential area with heavy trucks and machinery constantly, 20 tons of salt dumped on the open ground with no cover. There were a lot of issues with that. But however, when the said business did relocate down to its current location, I was very supportive. In fact, I pushed at the zoning board because I felt that that section of town was zoned residential when it should have been commercial. He had to jump through a certain number of hoops because of that, in my opinion, mistake made back in the 90s when zoning was set up in the town. So I had a problem with a business that was violating the zoning rules, and that, I mean, we gotta play by the rules. Everybody's gotta play by the rules or it doesn't work. When that business moved to a better location, I was very supportive, and I pushed to have the Zoning Board of Appeals approve the variance for that business because the area is incorrectly zoned, and I've stated that numerous times. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I was more pushing towards when he tried to expand the business he already had into the automotive lane.
All I asked was if he had filled in the required forms, that's all. In other words, to have a automotive repair, the state has requirements for floor drains, as a building inspector, floor drains, oil disposal, and signage. The sign that is currently on that thing is outside the zoning rules. The Board of Selectmen waived the zoning rules for that particular sign, fine. But the building department, me, has the rules in front of it. If the rules say that it can be 4 feet by 6 feet, or 4 by 4, whatever, I don't remember what the rules were, and the one that's put up is larger than that, that is something to be addressed, and it was brought to the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen is the executive function of the town, so they made a decision that it was acceptable. I don't have a problem with that. It's just that if it says 4 by 4 and you put up 6 by 8, then you're not following the rules. So it was addressed by the Board of Selectmen and it was taken care of. Right now, I hope he's doing very well.
All right, thank you.
The BEA is Business and Economic Affairs.
Okay,
Thank you, Jim.
thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for any of the candidates? I know Courtney said that she had a few more, but if anybody else has any, great. If not, then I'll give the floor back to Courtney. Does anybody have anything? Yes.
Nicole Merriam. When my husband and I moved back here, I grew up here as well. Bart grew up here as well. We started going to Board of Selectmen meetings because we also wanted to be a part of the town. It's a little bit difficult because we work for the town, so there's a fine line there. But one of the things I noticed when we did come to the meetings, there was always drama and not a whole lot of, trying to think of the right word. Productivity. Thank you, Kathy. Productivity. People were talking out of turn when they weren't supposed to, and it made us not want to be there because it seemed very unproductive. My question to all three of you, what are your thoughts on that, and how would you handle meetings, or how would you encourage the other selectmen to maybe come together and maybe run it more like a productive meeting and follow the rules of the meeting?
All right, so I'll start with Clint. Go ahead.
I'm always first.
You are.
Sorry.
Well, there's just basic, rules, of decorum there. So I would think that just not letting people, and I think we have a really good example of how you kind of have to handle things sometimes when, people aren't letting other folks talk, or they're talking out of turn, or they're not following the right format. So I think it's just incumbent on the selectmen, as basically managing that meeting, that they have control, and that's the whole deal. You just have to have control. And I'm not going to say you control the attendees, but you do manage the attendees. So that's just part of running a meeting. And there's nothing more frustrating to me either, Nikki, than to go through to a meeting and you're trying to be productive, but there's no substance, anything, and everything is left field, right field. And I think it's very important to be structured, and I am very anal about that. But that's just me.
So I agree with the structure of the meeting, and obviously keeping a calm and cool head is important. So I know there's I don't even know how to word that. Specific event or person that you may refer to. So if it's just the same person that's having the same issues, I would want to have a private conversation with them, between him or her and the board. Because if it's the same individual, they're obviously having issues every single time, every single other week. So it might be good for the select board to pull him or her aside and just have a one-on-3, one-on-4 meeting to come to a common ground with them. That way the meetings are more, everybody's involved, not listening to a single person banter about specific subjects.
Thank you, Ryan. Alan, would you like to provide any input?
Well, yeah, I've sat through a number of, shall we say, contentious board meetings, and, yeah, civil discourse is sadly lacking. But the Board of Selectmen has a chair. I believe Mr. Wigg will be the chair next year, is that correct?
Correct.
And the chair of the meeting is responsible for maintaining the decorum of the meeting. As far as having extra non-meeting meetings with a citizen or something, anytime there's two selectmen talking about town business, that's a Board of Selectmen hearing, has to be posted, minutes taken, etc. So it's not something that can be done that way. As far as no, the meetings should be run according to Robert's rules, and I believe it's the position as the chair to enforce those rules.
Oh, thank you, Alan. I saw Ryan's hand up. Yeah, whatever.
I'm so glad we're talking about this, a structure of a meeting, which in this town severely lacks. Are you guys open, I'll go right down through, are you guys open-minded enough to accept that there are actually RSAs in place for running an actual meeting and stuff like that? And not just, yes, the chair is supposed to keep it calm, cool, and collected, but also within the limits too. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I've been to a million, board meetings in banking, banking career, so, very important. You follow the structure. Again, Robert's rules, everybody should know at least the basics on those, and they should be followed. And then as, if I do, get elected to the selectman position, I think I would look to, maybe appoint a town bouncer, and then they could just say, sorry. That's all.
Can you ask the question again?
Basically, are you open-minded enough to accept that there are laws and follow those laws and stuff like that, and not just think that's a free-for-all?
Right.
Yeah, so following the law of RSAs is a big deal. So the select board is a local government, so it is the responsibility of all three selectmen to ensure that the RSAs are followed for each and every step of the way. Even outside of meetings, the way that business is handled, everything has to follow those RSAs. So it would be very important to me to make sure that all of that is followed properly.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan, I agree with you about following the RSAs. I've been a representative to the Androscoggin District, and that is a quasi municipal corporation. And Sharon Gothier and Linda Chaseman, the chair, they run the meetings the way they're supposed to be done. And to be honest, sir, the Board of Selectmen is somewhat slacking. In other words, when the district goes into non-public, Linda reads the RSA. And then the vote is, can we go into, vote to go, motion, blah, 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 and then it's yes, 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 and individual roll call. When it's time to come back out of the non-public, it's exactly the same thing. That is according to the RSAs. I believe the Board of Selectmen should clean up and be more, follow the rules. Because there are specific rules, and to be honest, the Board of Selectmen has been somewhat lax on them compared to the district. So I've had an education from some of the best on how it's supposed to be done, and if I do get elected, I would push the board to follow the RSAs to the letter.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan, for that. Mr. Montgomery.
I think what we have to keep in mind, this is not a genteel debating society where everybody's polite. Democracy is messy. People lose their temper. That's the way it works. And what I'm afraid of is if they ask questions you don't like, what you pull tonight, I'll order you out. This is what happens when you take this gentility too far. You don't like opposition. That's exactly what that means. You want your opposition to shut up. I said what I wanted.
All right, awesome. Yes, Roach.
So, you three gentlemen going around for selectmen. You got one selectman that's about the rudest son of a bitch I've ever seen in a meeting.
Language, please. Roach, please.
one of you guys is gonna put a halt to that? When it gets out of
Wait,
control?
Back up, excuse, say again, Roach, I didn't really hear you.
So Roach said that there's.
Without the curse words, okay?
There's a very rude individual that is currently a selectman that is sitting. Are you, if you get elected, are you going to force that person to be more cordial during meetings? Basically what Mr. Kennedy is saying, and I'll start with Lynn.
Yeah, I think that we all three have basically said the same thing, that that's essential that we do that. I'm trying to think, you know, first thing in mind, starts going, who the hell is that? Who is that? But, yeah, absolutely, you've got to keep control of the meetings. Again, I've been to a million board meetings and it's not typically an issue, but, you know, there are a few where people, you know, tempers escalated and we had to have somebody make sure they were in control. So that's, I don't know, that's just common decency. Again, decorum to me is just second nature. You know, you've got to do that. The larger the crowd, the more important it is for decorum. And you know the old saying about two things you never want to see being made. One is sausage and the other is politics, you know. So, you know, as far as everything being up front, and let's, you know, go ahead and you know, be civil and have our exchanges.
Thank you, Ryan.
I'll link back to the keeping the cool and calm head. So I myself can get heated. So it's important for me to know that if you and I are having a dispute, I need to know when it's time for me to step back and not get to the point where I'm rude to you. So for me, I would look to another selectman and ask them to help me reiterate whatever it is that the issue is to keep us all calm and cool. So if I'm elected, I would work with the two other selectmen to make sure that nobody does blow up at somebody else. So we're all staying calm, so questions are being answered, and nobody is disliked for explosive behavior. When we are elected to a position, we should be showing you guys the respect you deserve for electing us.
Thank you, Ryan. Alan?
I agree with the kid.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Alan. Before I call on Bill and Courtney, is there anybody else that has a question? All right, Courtney, go ahead.
So I obviously run younger children's things in town, trunk or treat, pumpkin carving, for instance, those things. And I obviously am impartial to Ryan, he's my husband, right? And so I already know where he stands on these. I already know that he goes to the events. Prior to me, he also had a family, so children were very important to him. I've heard Al discuss, I won't even ask you about this because it's fine. Al obviously leans towards the older generation. I have heard Clint mention both the younger and the older generation as far as the Granite Guild. You know, that would support, you know, families as well as the elderly. You can't afford to eat. Granite Guild could help in the future when they're up and running. But I do very much remember you sort of demolishing my trunk or treat event without actually, without actually being in attendance, and I've never seen you in attendance to anything in the town, even as far as like fire department events, which I obviously go to as well. So is there any way that perhaps we will see any, I obviously know Ryan goes there, either of you two at these events, if you get this? I know Jim Wiggle goes to a lot of the events, he's very great about it. Is there any change in your mind, I guess, about trunk or treat and things like that for children?
You know what, I'm a real smarty pants, and so my daughter will not be friends with me on Facebook because I'm a smarty pants. And I think you're referring to a comment I made because I was so angry about kids not going door to door. And angry is a long word, but, you know, frustrated that kids don't go door to door. That's Halloween, you know, and it should be on the 31st, and it needs to be, you know, to me, I think we should bring back that tradition. And I think I said something, and it was, I was just being sarcastic. I was not running down the trunk or treat because I was at the Lancaster trunk or treat, and I can't remember why I didn't make it to the local one.
You don't, I'm not talking, you don't need to, it's done over with.
No, I know,
but I just wanna know either of you have any plans on attending any of the local events?
Of course, absolutely. And again, once I posted that, and I think somebody responded, and it didn't even dawn on me that that would come across as I was dissing on the trunk or treat, because I responded to you. Anyway, it was, I tell you, I went to the Lancaster one, again, I didn't make it to the one here, and it was a fabulous time, it was excellent, so I fully support it. And I've been to a lot of different things in the town, so maybe I just haven't crossed paths with you, but I've been to many of these things.
All right, thank you. Alan?
Well, I mean, I've been active in the town. However, what I would really like to see, no matter what the outcome of this election is, we have 3 individuals, library, trustees of the trust fund, cemetery commission. What we need is more people involved to help out the town. If I win, Clint wins, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to continue to volunteer as much time as I can with the skill set that I have, where I can bring some utility to the town. I'm not doing this for profit. I'm not doing it for ego. I'm doing it because it's our civic duty. And if I get elected, I'm going to lean on him, and I need somebody that's 25. I forgot what that's like. You know, the youthful exuberance, I don't remember it anymore. But, you know, and the other thing I would like to do, and one thing, can I keep talking? I'll keep it as short as I can, okay? I like to talk. The other thing is, right now, the communication between the school system and the town of Northumberland is pitiful. And Mr. Wiggles on the school board, I've gone over to school meetings. Somehow, and I don't know, it may be an old wound or something, but we need to have the entire town, the school, which is an important part of the town, very important, and the town itself, the infrastructure, working together to pull us into the future. And that would be something I would really work hard on. And of course, you know, when you're one selectman, you're 1/3 of it. The other, you have to get at least one more person to agree with you, preferably 2. Almost all of the votes at the Board of Selectmen are unanimous. I'd say 98% of them. And that's what we need. But we need unanimous between the school board. It used to be the precinct, that's been dissolved, so now it's the school board and the town. Why can't these 2 entities work together, talk to each other, and work for the town? That would be something that I would try to work on, because I don't see why it's happening. Thank you.
Could I answer to the volunteering and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
Yeah, no, I asked Deborah, I just wanted to quiz, so I didn't need the answer.
Yeah, no, I got you, Cody, but
I felt very excluded
if you want to answer, go ahead, Ron.
So, I do like to volunteer. It's something I've always liked to do. So it's not new to me moving to Groveton that I do that. So when I was in high school, we had this program called Jobs for Maine's Graduates, because I'm from Maine. They have expanded now. It's called Jobs New England. So they have moved to New Hampshire, more towards Nashua. So that program is specifically designed to get kids to go and volunteer. And it teaches them career development skills, which is very important because being 25, I was not taught cursive. They don't teach it in school anymore. So, or they didn't in my schooling. So, Jobs for Maine Graduates did that. Filing taxes isn't a class that we had in school. Jobs for Maine's Graduates did that. Interview skills, all that stuff was all through that program. So that's what you were saying. That would be something I would try to get brought here for the school. Because it helps everybody and it forces kids to volunteer their time. So that would get more people out to volunteer, see more of the younger generation out there volunteering with anything. I mean, I think, never mind, I'm not gonna. So going on to me volunteering, I like to volunteer and I continue to want to volunteer. Grant Guild, I have been in talks with Rick. I'm actually in the process of getting him a grant from my employer of up to $10,000. He talked to you about that?
He sure did.
So my involvement there, I haven't been quite hands-on yet because we're waiting for the launch of the food pantry. But I have volunteered to be a delivery for the food boxes, as he's calling them. I also helped with the Harvest Moon, which was directly, or a few hours after the trunk or treat event. So it's volunteering isn't something I feel like I have to do. It's something I enjoy. So it's important to spread that love to the community to get more people involved with that volunteering. And it starts with these 3 seats, them seeing us out there having fun with the public, being involved with younger kids, older generations, doesn't matter. Seeing us involved and having a good time, all working together in unity is what's important to everybody to see. I kind of rambled there.
Well, no, you know, I mean, we need more volunteers.
Hold on, Mr. Montgomery, Ryan had his hand up. Ryan?
Oh, you waited too long.
I'm sorry.
So, Al, you were speaking on, when you last spoke, you were speaking on, refresh me a little bit.
Well, wait a minute. You're asking me to
Yeah.
remember what I said?
You yelled at Mr. Montgomery for not asking a question. I'm asking a question. Refresh me.
You're asking me to remember something.
Yes. PR. Public relations. I love that. And getting more people involved. Thank you. See, you helped me out. So do you guys believe, and we'll go right down the line too, do you guys believe that having people from the public come to these meetings and speak their mind, or are you guys gonna shut us down?
Just, to answer that, since I'm the first guy, it's, you can't shut people down. That's just, it's crazy. And when you get, I think there was a time in America when you worked somewhere that you just, did your job and you shut up and, you went on. So the one thing that I learned, senior management, middle management, and lower management, is that, God, if you don't get everybody on board, and they may not agree with you, but you have to sell them on the idea that, I'm passionate about it, it's gonna work. You get input from everybody, and then you decide the way that you're gonna go. And it's kind of like, pirates. You think the captain of a pirate ship is, all ruling and it's all powerful, but in fact they weren't. It was a very democratic process. And on a pirate ship, if the crew decide they didn't like the captain, he's overboard and they nominate somebody else, So it's much easier to get everybody rowing the same way and be in unison. So, we can disagree, we talk it out, we, vote on it, we work it out. Everybody goes away feeling like they had their chance to express their views. And, if you're passionate about something, that's great. That's what we need, because that's what being part of a town, part of a family, part of a company, that's very important.
Ryan?
So one thing I've noticed is the selectmen are a punching bag. It's a thankless job. So as much as I don't like being a punching bag, that's something I'm signing up for. So what's important though is to make sure we can have those disputes calmly. So like I was saying earlier about keeping it calm and cool, I definitely want you to come to me and say, this is my problem, what are you gonna do? As you know, it's not just up to me to do it unless it's a personal, which we wouldn't deal with here. But so anything town related, if you come with an issue and you direct it towards me or somebody else, that would be something that I would look to the other selectmen to all of us come together for an agreement. So for me, I've had some people reach out to me about coming to a select board meeting and saying they asked a question or had a concern and they felt like they were ignored. And then they said that they've gone to the town office and they still feel like their question wasn't answered. So it's important to me that you feel heard and you get my response. So I don't like being left not knowing information. Like if I need something from you, I don't want to wait 12 days to get it. So if you want something from me, it's important for me to hurry and get that back to you with as much knowledge behind it as I can get. I hope that answers it.
Thank you, Ryan. Al?
All right. Previously, I floated the idea of something that I would like to move forward with the Board of Selectmen if I am elected, is to live stream the meetings. And also, in the public comment section, open it up to people to call in to the Board of Selectmen. Because I agree, we need more, with the gentleman in the back, we need more democracy, not more 3 people up here making decisions for us. And it's gonna be messy, and there are gonna be people that are upset. Well, Jim Tierney once pointed out that if to be a politician, you have to have thick skin. And yeah, so, I would like to see more comments. People can't come to the Board of Selectmen meeting, but they could, if they're watching it on their tablet, phone, whatever, call us. We'll put the darn phone number up here. And I don't care if it's my own personal phone. Call us. Because the only way the board is going to be responsive to the citizens of this town is to hear from them. Because if we don't hear from them, or the board doesn't hear from them, then we're winging it with the 3 amigos. I'd like to change that so that the 3 amigos have as much information from as many diverse sources as possible. That's what I would like to see for the Board of Selectmen moving forward if I do get on it.
Thank you. Mr. Montgomery, did you have?
Yes. The gentleman in the end, you said the votes were either 89% unanimous or 98% or 89. What was it?
Yeah, it's almost always, I sit over there, I've done it for, 8, 9 years, almost every meeting, and when it comes to a vote, Jim, both of you Jims, hold on, let's ask the experts. Jim, you've been sitting on the Board of Selectmen just about forever. Aren't most of the votes unanimous?
We disagree once in a while, but most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the rarity rather than, it's not like a 60-40 split. It's more like 90, 95% of the time, the 3 selectmen vote unanimously on the thing in front of them. A lot of times, wait a minute, let me finish. A lot of times, it's cut and dry, simple stuff. So, it's not like they're weighing the problems of the world, but,
But it is the problems of the town.
they're weighing the problems of the town, and they're doing their best to do it. But if we had more input from a greater diversity of citizens, they could perhaps make a better set of decisions.
Well, the reason I'm asking you this question is you bring up, if you have more input, if you have more selectmen, you would never get this 98% or 90%. I've never seen a democracy where 90% agree. And when 90% do agree, there's something wrong.
Right.
So that's why I think, to stress my point, you have to go back to a better system, which is 5. And there's one other thing. You all talk, there's no doubt your job is hard. You probably don't get paid anything. You're overworked. So if we had 5 selectmen, that would ease your workload. It would be better for you to have 5 selectmen rather than 3. So I don't know why you don't come up with it.
I don't think it's needed.
But you said you're all stressed over what?
We need more information, we don't need more decision makers.
All right, does anybody have any?
Can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
So with 3 select board members, they rely on the town administrator and her assistant for I don't want to say picking up the slack, but helping alleviate that workload from the selectmen. So that is their positions, is to pick up the additional workload. Not necessarily be a part of a vote, but I think when it comes to a vote, I don't want to say that 5 people wouldn't be good, because I would be open to having 5 members. From what I heard, 5 members didn't work here. It was messy, less agreement, not productive. So the goals for these meetings is to be more productive. I think 3 select members does make it more productive. And coming to a unanimous decision is important, so if I disagree with something, I would want to talk with these 2 to figure out why they want me to say yes, or give me a chance to get them to understand why I'm saying no, so we can still all be on the same page. I'm lost, so that's it.
Oh, no, you're good, Ryan, thank you. Any other questions? Ryan, do you have a question, or? No. Okay, anybody else?
Well, I guess one other thing.
Yes, sir, Mr. Montgomery.
How are we going to correct this about getting the message out when there's going to be a meeting? Instead of waiting until the Tuesday, we can put it in the Democrat a week before. Who will be responsible for that?
So I know selectmen meetings are the 1st and the 3rd Monday of every month.
So what about this weekend?
The selectmen meeting, oh, sorry.
No, you have at it.
The selectmen meeting is actually on our website, it's posted, it's the first one, when you go on the page, it lists all the meetings that the select board has.
Wasn't this a meet and greet the candidates?
This was put together kind of fast, because we are running out of time with everything that goes, so we got it up as fast as we could get it up.
Which was really
We're right in the process right now of making a new website. Once that goes live, things will go up a lot faster than they go up
So
now.
we figure we'll be able to get it out maybe a week, 2 weeks before the next time.
If we can plan it that fast. Candidate night's a little different because of how everything lines up.
Was all the candidates made aware of the meeting, all the people that wanted to run?
Yes.
Yes, everyone that wants to run is here, sir, with the exception of one, and he may have had a conflict, but he still plans on being on the ballot, he's just not here. Yes, Roach.
When did they, turn the website back on?
The website's been live. We haven't ever shut it down.
Okay. All right,
I
Ryan?
thought there's been some issues with it. They ain't used it.
If the website is back on, how come the minutes aren't posted on there?
Because of what they did for updates on the current website we use a free basically a free website, and they did an update where everything has to be JPEG, and when you get the minutes and stuff, it's not all JPEG. So I have to convert everything, so it's been a difficult. So what it is, if you can't put them up consistently, they don't put them up at all. So that's what we've done.
So
Once the new website's up, then everything will be put up consistent.
Now, going back to your guys' question over here. Do you guys agree with keeping the internet going as the RSA 91-A:2, paragraph 2 states, this is how good I'm versed in it, states that you have to keep up with your internet service with all your posted public meetings. And that has been failed for numerous years, and I've been bringing this to this town's attention. And what are the steps? Do you guys agree with keeping that going, because it's an RSA? And I forgot the second part, but go.
All right, Ryan, go ahead.
As I think all of us agreed, following the RSAs is near and dear to our hearts. It's law, we have to do it. I'm assuming, Jim, you're the one who's updating the website or passing information?
Correct.
So I think that should stop. I think we need to have somebody else be the one doing that job for him, because Jim is busy enough on all the other stuff he's required to do as a selectman. So I think that would be something we need to address ASAP, whether that means we have to come up with paying somebody to manage that website for us. That way we are on the point with updating that information. That way we're not here next year with you asking, how come we're still not doing this when I asked you to do it?
I'm pretty annoyed. Just so you know, I volunteered to do it.
I'm not saying shame on you, I'm just saying that to alleviate that off of you, somebody else should be managing that website for us. I think that would make things easier for everyone going around, because like I said, you have a bunch of other stuff to do, whether it be your personal life or here. So having somebody else that you say, this needs to go on the website by the end of the day tomorrow, that is their job to have that done for tomorrow. That way, we don't have to worry about this.
The new website will have that.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Does anybody else want to answer to that?
I was just gonna say with Jim, the town has a new website. It's going to address Ryan's concerns, which are valid. And, you know, but I'm too old to be able to tell you how this is gonna work. I'm hoping I'll be able to make it work when it does work, but it is being worked on, and I agree with Ryan that the minutes and the rest, you know, basically all the information that should be public should be readily available to the public. Yeah, I know it's a radical concept, but I think that's real.
No, it's law. It's
I know
law.
it's all right, I've read them all.
But you wouldn't have people like Mr. Montgomery up here confused and stuff like that. We
I
had
agree
an
with you.
actual thing. That's all I'm trying to
It's been a nightmare. Jim Wiggle is, you know, Jim steps up and jumps into the forge for the town on a daily basis, okay? And, you know, he's volunteering his time, trying to make something that personally I would have no concept how to do, and he's doing his best. So it's, you know, yes, it needs to be fixed. Jim's, you know, done a yeoman job of trying to make it work. The town is moving toward a real website, not a freebie. And so hopefully this will be corrected, and exact timeline. I would hope it's soon, but I can't really speak to that.
Thank you, Alan. Linda, can I add anything to that?
Well, again, all my experience, I keep harking back to, you know, a million board meetings, but there's always a person who takes minutes, that's typically an admin. That admin whips out those minutes and they're available pretty quickly for people to review. So that needs to be a function within the town administrative process somewhere. So I agree. Yeoman's job, you know, by Jim to put that out.
Excuse me. If you had shown up to more meetings, you would have seen Becky sitting over there taking.
I'm just saying.
Sorry, I had to put that dig in, Clint.
That's good. Yeah, and the issue actually, you know, is that they just need to, and she does a great job, but they need to click when she gets done. It just maybe more formalized, and yes.
Well, no, wait a minute, hold on, I have a problem with that. Becky does an incredible job listening to all the different voices, and she puts it in a clear, concise manner. It's posted on time as a draft, and then at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, that draft is approved, and then it becomes official. So, you know, it's not the people doing the job, it's the tech that we're having problems with. It's not that minutes aren't getting out there in time, they're getting out there, and they have to be draft and then approved. So, you know, we have a software problem.
Yeah, thank you. Before I call on you, Mr. Montgomery, is there anybody else that has a question? Yes, ma'am.
Sheila Smith. I've come to several meetings and it's always the same regarding the website. And I'm not sure I really understand, is it that the town doesn't have the money to give whoever it is that's setting this up for us? Or are they so busy they can't do the job for us to get us back up and running? I don't understand where the niche is.
I honestly think, hold on, real quick. I just honestly think we're kind of getting off topic. I mean, just the type of questions aren't directed towards the candidates when they're running positions. I totally agree with Ryan's question in regards to the RSAs and if they want to follow them. But I think in regards to what the town is currently doing and they have no idea or fundamentally have no idea of what the town is in the process of doing, I think we should just stop where we are right now in regards to any of that, and it can be brought up at a selectman meeting at the next one with a current sitting selectman that can answer those pertinent questions to the constituents of the town. So I just ask that if anybody has any questions in regards to what currently the town is involved in, to please direct those at the next selectmen's meeting. Thank you. Yes, Becky.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for pointing that out.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Mr. Montgomery.
How about using the print media? As in a Democrat, Not everybody's computer literate, and not everybody has a computer. Can somebody answer that?
All right. Again, I don't think that's directed for a question to the candidates. Yes, Ryan.
Can I spin that off?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what he's asking, what do you guys think of your older group? You're trying to get the message out to the older generation too. Are you guys willing to actually adapt to the newspaper if you guys had to get the message out instead of just going and putting it on the library, which nobody goes to in my personal opinion, but and then some other buildings and stuff like that? Are you willing to have an open mind on putting it into the newspaper to reach out, since you guys are all about reaching out and your PR skills, reaching out to the public and stuff like that? Are you willing to open it up to put into the newspaper?
Alan, I'll open it up to you.
I am not. The reason I'm not is, Becky, quickly, how many pages are the minutes?
The minutes generally go anywhere from 6 to 10, 11 pages.
Okay, so if we took out 11 pages in the
Hold on,
paper.
Alan, hold on. I think you're misinterpreting the question. The question that Ryan is proposing in regards to open forums like today, posting them in advance in the newspaper, not the public meeting minutes from a select meeting or.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant post of minutes.
Just the posting of the meetings through either something like this type of open forum for the public, or having a select schedule that the selectmen have their whatever days they are through each and every month through the calendar year, posting that in a newspaper.
Oh,
That's
I'm
what.
sorry,
That's
Ryan.
what.
I thought you meant post of minutes.
Posting of a public meeting.
Yes.
Just if I can,
Go ahead.
It's very important that you post, I think, in the paper, because again, not everybody has a computer, not everybody's computer literate, so that's just a very simple way to do it. Now, if you're gonna post the meeting, I would also make that well-known as far as, go to the website. If you don't have access to a website, then these are the other options that you have for finding out about meetings. And then post that and make sure that it gets out so that you can go to someplace other than the computer if you want.
All right, thank you, Ryan.
So I wouldn't put it in the paper every time there's gonna be a meeting. But maybe like once a quarter, you would have a little section where you would say, these are our meeting dates for the next quarter. And obviously you can't be like, this week we're talking about one topic and this week we're talking about another. But just having that information there, that way we know when meetings are. And then special meetings like this or events like this, 100% they should definitely go in the paper. Like Jim said, this was a very quick moving process. What I would recommend next year is, we know there's an election next year, so we can advertise it earlier, because I think having these is a good idea. Last year's was a good idea, this year's is a good idea. So going forward, I think that should be a new norm when it's election season or election year. So I think that could be set early, like town meeting, we know when that is. Why can't we have a selected candidates night every year? So then people who are running know that, what's today's date? February 13th. February 13th every year at 7 p.m. the candidates are in here, waiting to answer your questions. So that is something, I don't literally mean today every year, but letting you know weeks, months in advance, and then updates, letting you know like, hey, this is coming, hey, this is coming. Not like every week, but the occasional, hey, this is coming on this date, and then a few weeks later, here's a reminder, and then that's really it. It's been in the paper twice. I think that's enough that everybody in town who gets the paper every day or every week sees when our meetings are.
Thank you, Ryan. Alan, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I think that Mike Phillips used to have a monthly thing in the Chronicle, and I believe it was also in a Democrat, called the Selectman's Corner, where he just gave out a synopsis of what had happened with the Board of Selectmen in the previous month. And I think that would be a thing to revisit and recreate. And at that point, that could also be a vehicle to provide the upcoming dates to watch for that month.
All right, thank you, Alan. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Deb Miles, I'm a resident. I'd like to ask each of them, would it be appropriate for you to get together with Tammy to talk with Rhodabeck and build on what we have here already? They were going to expand, now they're not going to expand. Would it be appropriate for you to work with her and try to change their mind on that? And also, what would you like to see go into Mom's building up there?
Excuse me, Alan, I'll direct that question, that two-part question to you.
Well, when Rhodabeck came in front of the planning board with their building, there are two areas on that site that would accommodate a building of the size they put up. And I believe they were planning on moving forward with that. Exactly why that did not occur, I think that was macroeconomics, not something with the town. As far as working with businesses, that's my bread and butter, being small business, self-employed. I would be open to talking to anybody about anything. And as far as Moms, they did a wonderful job with that building. It's absolutely gorgeous. As far as marketing it, that's pretty much out of the purview of the town administration. But, you know, I'm against providing tax breaks and that type of stuff for incoming businesses because it's just not fair to our residential tax base. But yeah, I mean, what can go into Mom's? Boy, I don't know, but I would be the biggest cheerleader I could to get somebody in there as far as promoting it and, you know, doing whatever the town can do that is not taking tax dollars and putting it into a business.
Thank you, Ryan.
So I guess a lot of what Alan said was the Rhodabeck situation didn't come down to Groveton saying yes or no to something. But for other businesses, of course, we would all work together to help them want to come here. Each of us said that's our mission, is to get more businesses here. So yes, we would of course work with Tammy and Nikki to make people, I shouldn't say make people, attract new businesses to come here. And as far as Moms goes, I know this will never happen, but I would like to see the town have that building, have everything in one spot. I know it's never gonna happen, but that would be great. I would like another business just like Mom's to be in that building. The issue that I know about is when I lived on Brown Road, there was a petition that went around about OHR baiting. I forgot what I was looking at.
It's true.
That's right. I was looking at Jim and I'm like, I wasn't talking to Jim. Sorry, Dad. So I know that was an issue for Moms because in Berlin, they can drive everywhere. All over the roads, doesn't matter as long as they're following laws. Groveton isn't that way, and I know they wanted to expand that, like Brown Road, they wanted to be able to drive up and down Brown Road. That was petitioned and shot down. So that was unattractive to Moms. So it's important for us to look at different options like that, because maybe that could have saved Moms from leaving. Ultimately, they bought a humongous building, so they didn't need to, but that could have been something to look at.
All right, yeah, Clint.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that is, Mom's is a fabulous building over there. The Granite Guild actually looked at possibility of purchasing that too, but it was way beyond our means. So yeah, I think it's going to have to be something that you know, the building is structured so that you could have actually, or you can make it into a sort of center with 4 or 5 different businesses right out of there. Maybe some sort of a program to where you subsidize folks to move their business there and give them some sort of a tax break. All against the tax breaks, which I totally get. There's also a repayment when you do get somebody in town, you give them a tax break, but it was the right kind of business, it actually you'll see more tax revenue as a result of the proper business being in that building. So, I think that's important to consider. And Rotobag, I don't know what the heck that is.
They're a business up on Brent Road.
Yeah, they make those wrappers for.
Oh, gotcha, okay, then I don't have an opinion on Rotobag, I'm afraid.
No worries, thank you, Clint. Any other questions from the group to any of the candidates?
I just have a general statement after, when everyone else is all done.
Yeah, when I close out the meeting, if there's no more questions, Bill, I apologize.
Yeah, you skipped me, but that's all right.
I apologize.
It wasn't that part. I was just gonna ask each one of them a question, but, I'll ask them individually.
Do you want to ask it now?
No,
Okay, sounds good.
it's a little late now.
I know it's getting a little late. I have 8:50, so if there's no one else that wants to ask any questions, I will close the open forum now at 8:51, and if Courtney, whatever you want to say for a closing statement.
Now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just double checking. I just want to thank everyone. I appreciate everyone coming and answering, and everyone did a great job, and I think it was run much better than last year. I think you did a great job, Jeremy. The audience was great. I appreciate the questions of whoever asked questions, and I think that all the candidates are great, and I thank everyone for putting their names on there. As Dean said, it's, you put your name where no one else has put it, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. And thank you to the candidates again for showing up and taking your time out of today. Thank you for everybody's time for coming. Safe travels home, and have a good night.